Okay, good evening, guys. How are you?
Good evening. All good, all good.
Yeah, anything exciting going on, or is life still just as boring as ever?
Boring as ever.
Boring as ever. Fair enough. I would imagine so. I would imagine so. Okay, so God, it feels like it's been ages since we were together, but it was only last Friday. I've been traveling. Hey, German, how are you? I was.
How was your flight?
Long.
Yeah.
It was
We can
very
imagine.
long. It was very long. It was very arduous. It was very boring. And it was very strange because so I flew from Montevideo to Sao Paulo, and I flew on a flight that was a special flight just to get people out of Europe. Like, it wasn't for Uruguayans. Like, there were no Uruguayans on the plane. It was only non-Uruguayans who basically were leaving Uruguay. So I only got the flight because the Irish embassy knew about it. Like, the flight wasn't advertised. It wasn't on any website. You had to phone a special phone number. So it was very strange. And of course, on the day of the actual flight itself, there were no other planes, there were no other flights at the airport. So there were like maybe 20 people or 30 people on this plane. So the airport in Uruguay, which is probably not, like, it's not, I'm sure it's not a very busy airport at the best of times. It was like a ghost town. So that was very odd. And then it was extremely weird being on the plane because I think I have a video that I'll show you. I made a video of the flight attendants because they were completely in protective gear.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was very, to be honest, it was very comforting. I kind of wish all airlines were like that. The first thing that happened when I got on the plane, like, you know, when you walk in the door, was the flight attendant like held out a thing of like hand sanitizer. That was the very first thing that happened. And then they gave us a mask, and they gave us gloves, and everybody, I have it somewhere. Hang on just 2 seconds. I'll show you. I'm going to keep on talking, but I'm going to go look for something while I'm talking. So the actual airline attendants were wearing like complete sort of protective gear while they were looking after us. So it was very, very odd. It's unlike any flight I've ever been on before, but I guess that's good, you know. So that was good that they did that, but it was extremely weird. It was extremely weird to be on this flight. So then I got that flight, so that was fine. That was like an hour and a half or 2 hours or something to Sao Paulo. And then unfortunately I had to spend 24 hours in Sao Paulo. It was a 24-hour stopover because the actual flight to Europe wasn't until the next day. And I wasn't allowed leave the airport. Like, I wasn't allowed go into Brazil at all. And of course I wasn't, which meant that I brought nothing with me. Like, I came basically with the clothes on my back and a small little bag. I wasn't allowed bring any big luggage, because the rule is that when you're traveling through an airport, like when you're like making a connection, usually you have to go and collect your bag, like collect your big luggage, and then check it again. But that couldn't happen this time because of the rules. Because in order for me to collect my bag and then go and put my bag through again, I would have to actually physically like cross into Brazil and go through passport control and go through customs. And Brazil is not allowing any of that. So I had to stay in the airport. So I just had like my little like knapsack, and I had to stay in the airport in Sao Paulo. Thankfully, I didn't know this. I was dreading the whole experience because I was imagining I'd have to spend the night like sleeping, like when you have to stay in an airport for a few hours and you just try and sleep on some chairs, which that's what I was expecting. And I was kind of gearing myself mentally for that. But amazingly, there's a hotel in the terminal and you don't have to go out of the airport. It's right there. It's in the terminal. So is it
free or not? Or you need to pay?
Oh God, no, nothing's free. No, I had to pay. I had to pay. No, oh God, I didn't tell you this part. So first of all, the actual flight from Montevideo to Sao Paulo was on Amazonas. And it cost a fortune. It cost about $500 just for one way from Montevideo to Sao Paulo.
Really?
Yeah, I know, lovely.
No. Oh.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
For that.
So, and then but the flight from Sao Paulo back to Dublin, I had already bought that flight. But that flight, the original flight, got cancelled. So then I had to buy another flight. I bought a flight from.
Any refund from the company to you?
No, there's no refund. No, there's no refund. I got a credit note, which means that I can, next year or something or whenever I can, I have the value of the ticket
it's not so
as
bad.
a credit note.
Good.
So, but anyway, I was able to get another flight, but it was just, there was a lot of running around, and to be honest, I was only able to do it because one, the Irish embassy was a kind of basically working behind the scenes to help me. And then my friend in Uruguay actually works for a travel agency. So they were able to find what was going on as well. So if I didn't have those two people, I would be still in Uruguay at the moment. But as it is, I'm back in Dublin. So yeah, no, it was fine. It was just a long weekend because I had to spend time at the airport. And Sao Paulo airport, I'm sure it must be like chaos because it's a huge airport. And it was like a ghost town. Like everything was closed.
Sorry, Niall. This is my first time here.
Yeah.
So can you tell me when was that? When was your travel?
Oh, it was 2 days ago.
2 days. Okay.
Yeah, I left I left Montevideo on Saturday afternoon, and then I left Sao Paulo on Sunday night, and I arrived in Dublin. I went from Sao Paulo to Paris, and then Paris to Dublin.
Paris, okay. So two connections in your trip.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was very, very long. Anyway, so yeah, but I'm back in Dublin, and that's the important thing. So yeah, but obviously nothing's changed because we're still having classes by Zoom. So how is everyone here? How was your weekend? That's such a stupid question. How was your weekend? But so how are you finding? I mean, like
Sunday here.
Well, I mean, it's bizarre because like we've all been like sort of like in lockdown now for a couple of weeks. So it's sort of like I think we've all become just kind of used to it. I spend a lot of my time like doing online teaching like this, but I spend probably an equal amount of time just sleeping. So how are you? Like what are you doing? Are you trying to be productive and creative, or are you just enjoying the free time?
Who start?
I don't know. Anyone can start.
Okay.
Well, Brian. First of all, Brian, where are you at the moment? Where are you?
I'm from Uruguay.
You're from Uruguay. Okay.
Yeah. But actually, I am Dublin.
You're in Dublin.
I live
now.
in Dublin.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm unemployed now for the moment.
Yeah. Well, join the club.
Yes. Thanks.
So and where are you in Dublin?
Now where I live, you say?
Yeah.
Now a botanic garden.
Oh, beautiful park.
It's closed. Yes.
Yes, lovely. Yes, very
yes.
nice. Yeah, in Glasnevin. Lovely.
Last minute, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's very well. I hope at least that I'm assuming the botanic gardens are closed, or are you allowed to go for a walk?
No. I think not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, I think about 2 weekends ago. Sorry, we went there.
Yeah.
And still open, you know.
Okay, really? Okay, because I know the thing of it is, I mean, there's obviously lots of parks, because I think even around the botanic gardens, like, or within your 2 kilometer radius. For those,
exactly, yeah.
For those of you who aren't in Ireland, for those of you who are not in Dublin, in Ireland, the actual regulation now is we are only allowed to go in a 2 kilometer radius around our house.
Yeah.
So I'm sure for you, Brian, there's probably a couple of nice parks that you can go to. Or
I have a couple of cups. Yeah, a couple.
Good.
For the moment.
So Brian, then so then you can start us off. So how are you spending your time? Like, what are you doing to fill your day?
Yeah, usually every day we try to, I don't know, still spend our time playing in cars, or for example, we can exercise, you know, outside. For, like you say, we have a couple of parks, so we go go there to, I don't know, for running or make exercise, you know, something like that.
And when you go to the park, and this is like not just for everybody, like when you're outside getting your exercise, like, have you been seeing like a lot of people?
Yes, exactly. This is a problem because, there's all people respect the distance, you know, social distance, but not everyone. So
not everyone, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so this is a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because and has everyone else, have you found the same? Like, are people respecting social distancing, or are they still kind of in crowds?
Yes, exactly. They're still in crowd, yeah.
Yeah, and has that been the experience of everybody else? Are you seeing lots of people on the streets?
Yeah, of course. Yes, on the street and everyone. Yeah, it's a chaos. I don't know how to say, but it's a chaos when you go to the supermarket. You know, for example, Tesco.
Yes.
You know, this is crazy because everyone is there. So
I know. I was in Tesco today. I was in Tesco today. Hang on, sorry. I'm gonna have to. Okay, sorry. I have to mute you guys because there's noise in the background. I was actually in Tesco today, and there weren't a lot of people, and there was a big queue, but everybody was standing about 6 feet apart. So it was okay. And of course, everything else was closed. The only thing open was the Tesco. But the really bizarre thing is, so I've been back in Dublin now for a couple of days, and Brian, you weren't here last week. So, but I was saying how last week when I was in Montevideo, that nobody is respecting social distancing at all in Montevideo. Like, it was very scary. But even back here in Dublin, people are respecting social distancing, which is great, but nobody is wearing a mask. So I have my mask, right? So I'm going around like this, and I'm the only one. And I know there's been some kind of, I guess there's controversy about the masks, because some people say the masks are useless, that they don't do anything, they don't protect you, and that may be true. All I know is I feel more comfortable wearing a mask. Like, I feel like it's probably more like a psychology. It's probably more like a psychological thing. It's more just like a mind trick that I play on myself. But I feel safer wearing a mask. But I don't understand why other people are not wearing masks. And the other thing that really pissed me off is people jogging. There are joggers everywhere. It was the same in Montevideo, and it's the same around where I am here in Dublin. There's joggers everywhere, sweating and breathing. So I'm hanging onto the wall when I walk down the path. Anyway, so apart from Brian, who's been doing exercises and playing cards, how are the rest of you spending your lockdown days?
Hi.
What are you up to? Hi, Marco, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm glad to see you.
I'm glad to see you too, Marco.
We really miss you.
Oh, for God's sake! It's only been 3 days,
Control of
man.
the Zoom. Huh?
It's only been 3 or 4 days. It's not like I've been gone for ages.
You don't know that happened when you don't stay with us.
Why? What happened?
It's a mess.
Oh, it's a mess. Okay, fine, all right.
But it's okay. We are. I think I speak for all. We are so glad because you are in at home and safe.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. That's very kind. Yes, I feel
Mine-
safe.
Yesterday was funny. Yesterday was funny, the class.
Yeah, the funny class.
You had a funny class yesterday. So who was teaching the class yesterday?
Gerard.
A
Gerard.
robot. A robot.
A robot.
Yes.
A robot.
Yes,
I don't know who that is.
because
I'm afraid I don't know who Gerard is. Federico, who's Gerard?
no, I don't know. It's a teacher who was teaching us a lesson yesterday, but he had problems with his connection, so
Oh, right.
he sounds like a robot. And well, it was fine.
Yeah.
It's okay because he do his best,
Good.
and we did our best too. So
Good for
it
you.
was funny and it was a good class too.
Okay, well, I'm very glad to hear that. I am very, very glad to hear that. Okay, so anything else going on? Anything else of note? Anything else interesting? No? So just the usual? Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, we were talking like last week all about the future. So I wanted to ask you guys about the future. And I need you to make a prediction. So remember we talked about how we use will or for predictions, and we use going to if it's a prediction with evidence. So I'm really just asking like a very general question, which is do you let me rephrase the question. Do you how long do you think this is going to last before you go completely insane? Like, how long is it going to last before you guys get cabin fever, or have you already got cabin fever?
I didn't
Oh,
understand
cabin.
the,
Okay,
the
so
last part.
okay, so there's an expression that we have, Fede. There's an expression that we have. I'll just type it here in the chat, and it's called cabin fever. Because like a cabin fever is basically when you're in the situation that we are in right now, where you have to stay indoors, you have to stay in your room, or you have to stay in your house, or you have to stay in your whatever, and so it's just you and the walls around you, like a cabin. Like a cabin is a cottage. Like a cabin is just like a small house. So if you get cabin fever, it's the idea that, like, it's like getting a fever. It's the idea that you just are going crazy because you're like, you're desperate to leave the house. So like, it's obviously a very casual expression, and you get cabin fever or you have cabin fever. The other way that we describe it is we say, I'm climbing the walls. And if you're climbing the walls, it's also this idea that you're going crazy. And it's like the idea that you're sort of frustrated and going crazy and annoyed, and you can't take it anymore, and you're desperate to leave, or you're desperate to whatever. So you're climbing the walls with craziness, basically, or like your brain is kind of mad. So like, I know
in Spanish we say caminar por las paredes.
So it's the same thing then. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Brian, yes.
Yeah. Sorry. For me, in my case, I think in 2 weeks more, I will become crazy.
Okay. So you think
I climb in the walls.
Right. So you think that maybe you have about 2 weeks more of this, and then it's going to be enough.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
and the reason I'm asking, of course, is depending upon where you guys are. I know some of you, of course, are in Argentina, where you've had a really strict lockdown for a very long time. Those of us who were in Dublin, we are in lockdown, but if you have to leave to go to work, you can. you know, and if you have to go to the supermarket, of course you can. It's not like we're in lockdown, but it's not terrible at all. I mean, I can leave now and I can go for a big walk and it's the weather and it's beautiful weather here. But but I know, like in some countries, the lockdown is much stricter. I know in Argentina it's very strict. I know it's very strict in Bolivia. I know it's very strict in Peru. It's very strict in Italy, obviously, and in Spain. So but I do think here, certainly in Dublin, as of yesterday, the government gave the police more powers of arrest. They gave them stronger powers of arrest. And basically all that really means is that, like right now in Dublin, if I go out, I'm only supposed to go basically 2 kilometers from my house, right? Or within 2 kilometers from my house. So in theory, if I walked like 3 kilometers or 4 kilometers, or like, you know, for example, I love walking on the beach, but the beach is too far. It's more than 2 kilometers. But if I decided to just say, fuck it, I'm going to go to the beach, and I decided to walk to the beach, but I was stopped by a police officer, they could say to me, okay, you know, where are you going? You know, you go home, right? But as of now, if I did that, apparently I could actually be arrested. So like yesterday, the guards would simply say, we think you should go home, or please go home. But tomorrow or today, you know, if I did it today, I could be arrested. And there's talk of that they're going to have fines or a penalty. By the way, and just so, just a reminder, this actually is a reminder that basically a fine or a penalty, like, you know, is money that you have to pay because you've done something bad. Like you pay a fine or you pay a penalty because you've broken the rules, because you've broken the law. So if you drive too fast in your car, you get a speeding fine, right? Or if you park your car in the wrong spot, in the wrong place, you get a parking fine. And so a fine is a penalty, and a fine is money that you pay the government, or you pay the police, or you pay whoever. Like it's money that you pay to an authority. It's not the same, because I think this might be a false friend from Spanish. It's not the same as a fee. A fee and a fine are different. A fine is money you have to pay.
Like a penalty.
Like a penalty, exactly. Yeah. A fine is a penalty. Yeah. Like a fine is like a tax, basically. Exactly. A fine, it's not a tax, but it's similar to a tax in the sense that it's money that you pay the government because you have broken the rules or because you have broken the law. But a fee, all a fee is just money that you pay to somebody because they have done a service for you. So for example, if you need to see a lawyer, right, you pay a lawyer's fee, right? Like you pay the money, like the money you pay to a lawyer or to an accountant or to an architect is the fee. It's there, like a lawyer basically charges a fee, right? They charge a fee. So
another example can be a school fee. School fees?
Yes, exactly. Yes, absolutely. Yes, like the it's what they call tuition fees. So basically in a school or college or university or language school, the actual money that you pay for your course or your course fees or your tuition fees. So fees basically is just money that you exchange for a service, but it's not a fine, it's not a penalty. So anyway, so sorry. So all I was going to say was that the point is that we've all been in lockdown for a couple of weeks. Some of us have been in more severe lockdown than others, but I think all of us at some point in the next couple of weeks, it's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. This weekend, of course, is Easter, and I don't know how it is in Uruguay or in Argentina, but at the moment here in Ireland, there's a very, very big concern because Easter traditionally, a lot of people say, for example, if you live in Dublin, a lot of people who live in Dublin, they have a second home in the countryside, or they have a caravan. A caravan is, a caravan. A caravan is also known as a trailer. Basically, a caravan is a mobile home, right? So a lot of Irish people have what we call in Ireland basically a holiday home, right? And a holiday home, it might be a small little house or a bungalow or a caravan or a mobile home, but and they're in like for those of you who live in Ireland, they're in places like Waterford or Cork or County Kerry or somewhere else on the west coast, you know, where people can go and, like, you know, go for a walk on the beach or whatever. And there's a big concern that people are going to leave Dublin this weekend and drive to their holiday homes, and of course that is a really bad idea. So with these new powers of arrest that the police have now, that the police are going to be out with their cars, and they're going to put up a roadblock to stop people leaving.
It was the same here.
Same in Argentina.
Yes, when the isolation began, all the people, most of the people tried to get out of the city.
Right.
The beach.
Right.
Thousands. I think 30,000 arrests.
30,000 arrests?
I don't know if I am correct, but
and so, I mean, obviously the people who were arrested, I mean, I assume that they were not put in jail. I'm assuming they simply had to pay some kind of a penalty or something.
Yeah, or go home or take the cars.
Okay.
And go back. But I think they pay, and they have a statement. No, ¿cómo se dice causa? Una causa judicial.
They have to
they have a complaint with the justice.
Oh, right. So they have to make a statement. At some point in the future, they will have to justify why they were out of their house.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So they have a case. They have a case with a judge.
Yes.
So they have a case with a judge. So they're probably going to have with the judge, when they go to court, they're going to have what they call a hearing. Okay. So basically a hearing it's like a trial. It's like when you go to court to see a judge, but a hearing is just another term for a trial. And very often it's in a case like this, where, I mean, like, you know, like it's not, they didn't break into a house. They didn't kill anybody. They didn't steal anything. So when you have a crime like that, but it's still a crime. So when you have a crime like that, you have to have an investigation. You have to stand before a judge and defend yourself and blah, 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 blah. And so you have a hearing. So you very often, you know, if you watch like a television show or if you say a television show or a movie where people are in court, it might be a court hearing. Okay. And so you'll hear people say things like, I have a hearing tomorrow. Like, you know, you'll hear like a character in a movie will say that, I have a hearing tomorrow. Sorry, Stefania is asking, how do you say homes? Do you mean prison?
Yes, like when you don't go to the jail, you go to your house and you.
Oh yes, sorry, yes. Okay. House arrest. Called house arrest. So basically, and that's very common. It's very common for, depending upon the circumstances, you commit a crime, you are convicted of committing the crime, and instead of going to prison, they simply say, okay, you are under house arrest, which basically, I mean, like right now, it's kind of the situation that we are in, only it's even worse because you can't leave your house at all. And if you are under, and you're under, the actual expression is you are under house arrest. It's quite common. It's very often common for, I don't know how you translate this into Spanish, but there is a term that we have for what they call a prisoner of conscience. So when you have political prisoners. Very often political prisoners are in prison. Okay, like for example, like Nelson Mandela was in prison for many, many years. But very often, thank you, Marco. But very often, political prisoners or political activists are not actually put in prison, and instead they are placed. They are like again, it's a passive. So they are placed under house arrest. So that's how you'll actually see it written, like in a newspaper. Now that's very formal, right? Because remember we talked about how the passive is formal, and it's very, very impersonal. So they are placed under house arrest. Okay, so that's the actual expression. So yes, but yeah. So sorry, we're all kind of coping as best we can with the lockdown. So, but what I wanted to ask you is, and I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. But what I wanted to ask you is how are you spending your time? Are you reading? Are you cooking? Are you doing crafts? Are you making art? Are you watching lots of Netflix? Are you exercising? Are you? Because there's lots of classes that you can do online now. I mean, like Vaga-Mundo is doing yoga classes, meditation classes, something else, stretching classes, music classes, dance classes, singing classes.
Elongation.
Elongation, is that stretching?
Elongation.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So there's lots of these kinds of classes, and of course, like not just Vaga-Mundo, there's online classes everywhere now. So are you taking advantage of that, do you think, or not?
I started to do yoga.
Okay.
And it's my first time, and it's something that I think very good with yoga. So I think this is a good thing about that.
And so can I ask, is it beginner's yoga?
Yeah, beginner's
Okay,
yoga.
beginner's yoga. And are you finding it difficult?
No.
Okay.
I thought it was difficult, but it was very very good.
So basically, so what you're saying is that you expected it to be difficult.
Yes.
So you were expecting it was going to be difficult, but actually it's not difficult. Now, why do you think it's not difficult? Is it because you are very fit and so it's okay for you to do yoga, or is it because the teacher is very good at explaining, or the exercises are very simple?
I think with the beginner exercise are easy.
Okay.
And everybody can do it.
Okay. All right. And is this yoga class, is it in English or Spanish?
Spanish.
Okay, it's in Spanish. Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
But you're enjoying it. And is it every day?
No.
Okay.
I do yoga, and one day yoga, and the other day we do exercise with my flight mates.
Just exercises. Okay, good.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. So you're trying to keep fit.
Yes,
so you're trying to keep
we
fit.
are trying to do to have a list to do every day.
Okay.
And in the morning we study, and then we cook, and then exercise, and then maybe watch movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay, now, so again, just to go back to this idea of sort of predicting the future or thinking about the future. So we've talked about the idea that, you know, maybe, like as Brian said, like in a couple of weeks, we'll have like cabin fever. But beyond that, because of course, right now we don't know how long this is going to last. You know, it's April. It could be May, June, July, August, before everything is finally okay again. Although I don't know, well, this is my question, is, do you think, this is a very big question. This is a very, very broad question. Do you think that this whole experience is going to change how we are as a people, as a society? Like, do you think it's going to change how we treat each other, how we do business, how we work, how we live? I mean, like this being online, I mean, like teaching online or having meetings online or working online or working from home might become the norm for a lot of people. So do you think, like, what kind of, now I'm asking for your predictions. What kind of world do you think, like in the year 2000, a year from now, in April 2021, what is the world going to be like in terms of how we work, how we live, how we deal with people, how we buy things? What do you think is going to happen?
I think in the future, maybe in 1 year or something like that, the big negocios, the big
companies,
they are going to use technologies, because it's like a robots. For example, if we have a pandemic again, the robots can continue work.
Okay. So you think that there'll be a lot of like artificial intelligence and robots doing work for us?
I think this is the future.
Okay.
And a lot of people without job.
Well, that's a very big possibility as well. What about you I know a lot of you are actually working from home, like whatever job you do, like your company has just decided that you can work from home instead. Do you think that will continue, or do you expect that a year from now you'll be 9 to 5 back in your desk, like driving to work or spending an hour a day on a train or a bus getting to work? Or do you think that you will, like, this idea of working from home will actually become the norm? Oh, that's a lovely cat, Chris. Show us the cat. Hey, that's a huge cat.
Yes, he's Marley. Hi.
Hello. So do you think that it will be the norm that people will work from home?
Here in Uruguay, my ex-boss.
Your ex-boss, yeah.
Yeah. Was starting to implement all this home office, because I used to work in a small company.
Right.
He wanted to save the rent of the office and energy, and if you work in your house is better.
Right. And in your company, like with your ex-boss, I mean, obviously whatever the company is, that was obviously feasible. Like it's obviously doable for you to work from home.
Yes, because I'm an accountant, and I can do all by computer.
Okay.
And he just needs to think more about our control, because he needs to control more us.
Yeah. And there in the chat, German's made the point that a lot of people have their own business, and he thinks that e-commerce will grow. So there'll be a lot of people working online and buying and selling online, which I guess just means that companies like Amazon are just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm not sure that's it. I don't like Amazon, so I don't think that's a good idea.
For example, in the quarantine, I was thinking, like, I'm an accountant, I say that, but I was thinking, like, how can I do to, like, study something so if this will happen again, I can don't lose my job again.
Yeah, because what you're talking about, of course, is a situation where you don't want to get left behind. Like you
Yeah.
don't want that the technology or the way of
Reemplace me.
working, you know, changes so quickly, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where you don't have the skills, like you don't have
Yeah.
the necessary skills. But you're an accountant. People always need accountants.
Yeah.
As long as we're living in a capitalist society, people will need accountants. The only way that your job is at risk is if capitalism fails. You know, if people decide that, you know, buying crap online from Amazon and having it delivered to your house, if people decide that that's basically a rather stupid way to live, that's the only way that your job is at risk. So I wouldn't worry about being an accountant. And everyone has to pay their income tax, so we still need accountants to help us with that. So you're fine. You'll be grand. You'll be fine. But beyond the idea of work and beyond the idea of like working from home or studying at home or whatever, I'm kind of more curious about, because I've been seeing a lot of stories about, you know, these kind of like acts of kindness between people, because you know, we're all in the same, you know, you've probably heard all the cliches, like we're all in this together. It's all the same. It doesn't make a difference if you're rich or if you're poor, or if you're black or if you're white, or if you're gay or if you're straight, or if you're transsexual, or if you're a woman or a man. Like the virus, you know, kills everybody. So there's been a lot of stories about, like, you know, people trying to help other people and, you know, like keep everyone's spirits up. And you've probably all seen the videos of like all the Italians like on their balconies singing opera and all of that crap. But I'm really curious to know that if this worldwide experience, this like is actually going to change not change who we are, but change how we behave to each other. Like the thing of it is, like one of the immediate consequences of this lockdown, of course, is that there were no flights anywhere there were very few flights. There are very few flights anywhere in the world, and as a result, there has been a decrease.
With internet connection.
Oh, Brian, did you crash? Oh, Brian's internet crashed. There's been a decrease in the amount of pollution because there are no planes, and I'm wondering then, like, if that's going to make people think maybe I shouldn't fly, you know, or I should fly less often. And I know, obviously, you know, like if you're in South America and you want to come to Europe, you pretty much have to fly unless you decide to take a cruise. But most people would prefer to fly. But certainly, like within Europe, I think I think there'll be a lot of people in Europe who will decide that I think I'll just take the train instead. And that's just one thing. But so I'm just wondering if this whole experience is going to fundamentally change how we treat each other, or as I say, like if a year from now in April 2021 everything is back to normal. So what do you think about that? Actually, you know, hold that thought. Because we actually have a lot of people here, I'm going to put you into small groups, and I'd like you to discuss that very question. So it's that prediction. So you're using will and going to. Okay, so it's predictions without evidence and predictions with evidence. What do you think is going to happen? So I'm going to put you guys into some breakout rooms, and you guys can. Okay, so I'm going to give you like 10 minutes to chat about that specific question, okay? Okay, there we go. Priscilla, I'm not sure why you guys should all be like, you should all be leaving in a second to go to another room. I don't know why. Maybe it's a bit slow to put you, but what? But you can have the discussion here. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there they go. Okay, so it's going to go in a second, I think.
Okay.
So just bear with me. Because I can see your name here, but for some reason it's not put you into the room yet.
Okay.
Okay, so we're almost out of time. I just want to take one very quick minute and just talk about one thing that came up in conversation, and then we'll go back to the actual main conversation again on Friday. But just for a quick moment, this is just, it came up in conversation. There's two things. The first is this, okay? So I'm assuming everyone is back in the main room, but somebody was saying, how can I do? Now, this is a very common mistake, and we'll talk more about this on Friday, but it's not how can I do, it's what can I do? And likewise, it's not how do you call blah, 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 blah. That's wrong, okay? If you say, how do you call, that is wrong. So it's not how do you call, it's not how can I do, it's what do you call. Now, I think the reason why a lot of Spanish speakers say, how do you call, of course, is because in Spanish you say, ¿cómo se llamas? So I suspect that's the reason, but it's what do you call. The other thing was just some vocabulary around corporate and corporations. We were talking about businesses and corporations, and just very quickly, so corporate is the adjective. So corporate is the adjective and corporation is the noun. But then if you're talking about a smaller business, it'll be a business or a small business or a company or a firm. You can use any of those words. But if you're talking about an actual large, like a big, huge company, like Apple, Amazon, IBM, McDonald's, whoever, like some really huge corporation, that's a corporation. It's not just a company. You know, if you own like a really small business, you have a company, and you are in business. If you own a business, if you own a company, if you are the boss, you are in business. And then if your business fails, you go out of business or you go bankrupt, okay? The other term is to go bankrupt. So you go out of business or you go bankrupt. But we will talk more about that in much more detail on Friday, because now we're down to basically 3 classes a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So, and I think because of my schedule now, because I'm now back in Dublin and I'm actually doing online teaching sort of like in the afternoons. So that's why our classes had to get bumped to 8 o'clock, like 8 o'clock Irish time. So it's 8 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I think it's going to continue that way unless something changes again. But as far as I know, it should be that schedule. So I will see you all on, I'll see you all at 8 o'clock on Friday. So I know today we just had a very general discussion about lockdown and cabin fever and blah, 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 blah. But just to get ready for Friday, because I know we have a lot of, it looks like we have a lot of new faces here. So just to get ready for Friday, I wanted to ask, breakout. Sorry, Stefania, what other expression?
You put in the whiteboard, to be in business. And
oh, sorry, yeah, okay. So it's to be in business, and it's to be in business, and then if your business fails, you go out of business. So if you own a company and the company is not successful, they went out of business. And it's bankrupt. So the other term is to go bankrupt. Now, to go bankrupt is really bad. Like if you you can own a business and the business could fail, right? But you don't necessarily go bankrupt. If you go bankrupt, it's an actual legal, it's a much stronger legal thing. And if you go bankrupt, you have to declare, like you have to tell everybody that you are bankrupt, and you have to tell the government, and you have to tell all the people that you owe money to. And the reason why a lot of businesses go bankrupt is precisely because they don't want to spend money. Because if you go bankrupt, so just for argument's sake, suppose you own a business and the business is like, you know, going down, and you owe a lot of money, like you have debt, you owe like hundreds and thousands of euro to somebody, like to the bank or to the government or to like your supplier, like, you know, like, so like you own a shop and you sell pens and you have 500,000 pens, but you cannot sell those pens, but you bought the pens, but you haven't paid for the pens. So you owe, like the people who make the pen, you owe them €1 million, and then your business fails. And so you declare bankruptcy. And when you declare bankruptcy, or when you go bankrupt, at that point, then you can actually argue with the person that you owe money to that you do not need to give them the money. And that's the reason why a lot of businesses declare bankruptcy. But it's a horrible thing to do, because if you do declare bankruptcy, you'll never get a bank loan ever. Like, you'll lose all of your credit with the bank. So you'll never get a bank loan. You'll never be able to buy a house or get a mortgage, or even like get like a loan to buy a car. So like it's
the same in Uruguay.
So it's always, you know, like we have this expression like the last resort. It's always the last resort to go back to declare bankrupt. Like, nobody wants to do it. You know, if you own a business, nobody wants to do that at all. It's terrible. Okay, so we've gone over time, and Karina is actually, I can see Karina's in the corner here, because Karina's coming on to teach Spanish. So I will see you all on Friday, okay? But what I wanted to ask, sorry, I got sidetracked. What I wanted to ask before you go, don't go. Before Friday, because we talked a lot of grammar points in the last couple of weeks. We did all the future, we did the present perfect, we did the conditionals, we did relative clauses. I wanted to ask, was there anything else that you wanted to go over? Any grammar points or vocabulary points? I know we talked a little bit about phrasal verbs. So is there anything else that you wanted to go over either again, or something else that you're still very confused by and would like to practice?
No, I didn't find the class of the conditionals, but
the conditionals.
Yeah.
Were you not with us when we were talking about conditionals?
All the conditionals, because I was absent this
day. You
day.
weren't here. Okay. Well, okay. Well, what I can do is we can have like a very quick revision
Okay.
of the conditionals. I won't do the whole thing all over again, because it was 3 days. But we're gonna have like a very fast revision of
Okay.
the conditionals on Friday. Okay. So I'll just.
Thank you.
So no problem. So conditionals. Right. Conditionals. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, you have some rule or some help to remember the correct use of prepositions.
Prepositions. Oh,
yes,
Jesus.
because it's so difficult.
I know Yeah, I know prepositions are horrible. Yeah. Okay. We'll do prepositions as well. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Prepositions. Okay. Right. And Amo, I'm so sorry. I have not forgotten about your essay. Okay. I haven't forgotten. I'm lying. I did forget, but I will get to it, I promise. Okay. I'll see you guys on Friday, okay? Have a great day.
Okay.
Keep on washing your hands.
Yeah.
Bye.